Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. It is a Tribe Called Dhillon podcast. I'm Angie Dhillon.
And I'm Rose Dhillon.
And I'm Alvin Dhillon.
Hope you had a great week. We're going to talk about our win of the week segment. Please think about your win of the week when we're talking about ours. Over to you, Rose.
Alrighty, you're looking at my win of the week. It's 2024, and I thought, you know what? I need to freshen up my hair. So as I've said in previous episodes, finding someone to cut my hair has been challenging. So I always gave that task to Alvin to do, but I decided to go professionally and get my hair cut. So I got my hair cut. She gave me some layers, but, I know how expensive it is to get highlights put in your hair because I've done it before. And it's like $300-$400. So I had my lovely sister highlight my hair. So I've got a little bit of color in my hair now. Mm-hmm. It's a little fresh for the new year and I like it. I'm very happy with it.
It's a nice caramel kind of color.
Yeah, it looks good. I didn't know you did it. I thought you got it done.
No, Angie did it. Yes.
I put like 50, 60 foils in her hair.
She did.
I did the whole
yelled
weaving
and screamed,
technique.
but she was so patiently painting, folding over, then when she's like, "Oh my God, this is never ending." I was like, "Yes, this is why I'm having you do it."
Now I understand why hair salons charge you a lot of money for doing that. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And I have a lot of hair.
And Al, over to you.
Mine, I don't know if it's a win or a loss, but say it anyways. I survived 5 hours of traffic recently.
Whoa.
So I've only ever been stuck, I would say max in my life, 2 hours of traffic, which was because of an accident. This time it was because of winter time and the way the snow fell, so it was a lot of wind chill. We were at every average day, I think it was -10 with the wind chill, -15. And we started getting a little bit of snowfall and it fell so fast that it formed a sheet of ice around a bend. So it had a little embankment. So it just, the wind was coming and it happened so fast that I was just approaching. I was probably maybe 1,000, 2,000 feet away from it. And it happened so fast that as cars were going up there, mostly the rear wheel drive cars, so like Beamers, they could not cross it. It was too slippery. They would go up and just fall into the embankment. So all the cars were piling up. They ended up blocking the whole way. And as I'm saying, they're stuck. I'm listening to the radio and you can hear the weatherman or the news reporter say, he's like, cops and firefighters can't even go and help them because they're slipping and sliding all over the place. Oh, wow. And finally, after about 4 or 5 hours when I made it through, I had realized that, man, I can do get a lot of things done in a short amount of time. So while I was getting stuck in it, I was sitting there. I was like, okay, we're going to be here for a little bit.
You're sitting in your car.
In my car. We're all sitting there and we have to have the car started because it's too cold. Thank God the day before I went and got a full tank of gas. I was at a quarter tank and I was like, I'll fill it probably tomorrow. But I said, because of traffic time, I don't want to take a chance. So I filled up anyway. So I had my car started the whole time. And as we're sitting there waiting, we don't know how long it's going to be. We just think maybe it'd be a couple hours. So I ended up listening to a podcast, watching a bunch of videos, listening to an entire album, meditated for a little bit, took a nap, and I thought, you know what? I'll probably end up waking up while people are knocking on my window telling me to move my car. I woke up, and it's still only been 2 hours.
Wow.
And then I said, holy cow. And that's when I put on Michael Bublé's Home. And I just sang, I want to go home. Tell everybody looking at me and the other cars. And the worst part was I couldn't put my window down because my window had frozen so hard from the temperature change that my window clips had broken. So when I lowered my window, the window would go forward. So I couldn't use my actual drive. So if I had to put window down to get air, I had to use the other 3 windows around me. But I was stuck in that. I ended up watching another podcast, another video. I watched a TV show, watched a bunch of old videos, listened to so much music, created a brand new playlist, revamped my stuff, went through emails. And it was only 3.5 hours at this point.
Wow.
And then I said to myself, holy shit, how long is this going to be? And it ended up being a total of 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you,
Al.
You know what?
Thank God I didn't shit my pants.
Yeah. You weathered that storm very successfully.
Yeah. And then and that's the day I learned when I said, I'm going to put everything I have into this podcast because I need to work for myself one day so I don't have to do this shit again.
Yep.
I knew I was going to leave it. I should have left work earlier. I said, the sun's starting to come down, but by the time you figure it out, you get going, it happened within a half hour. And
I messaged him at 2:00 and he didn't leave work till 3:30. You're on your own now.
Once again, you had to the manager was like, well, I don't see any snow happening here. And then it started snowing, falling, and right away, by the time I got out of there, it was too late. It was too late.
Your manager makes or takes everything, man.
That is my biggest fear, being stuck in a car for that long, because I frequently have to go to the washroom. That is like, oh my God, what would I do?
Yeah.
And okay, Al, basically that 5 hours that you did all that stuff, I was going to say it was you versus you in that 5 hours.
It was.
Because some people would have gone crazy in that 5 hours with themselves.
It was. I'm not going to lie, for some reason, I probably listened to this 10 times and it made me feel better. It was Michael Bublé's Home. I just kept singing it. And I said, now I know why people like this song, because you're probably stuck in traffic every day of your life. And I just want to go home.
All right. And
That's all I want to do, just go home.
You know, speaking of Michael Bublé, he actually was in Vancouver and he was stuck and he tweeted something on TikTok about the Vancouver snow and he was saying something along the lines
he
where...
said he just wants to go home too.
Yeah, and he said, I'm 15 minutes or I'm 5 minutes from home, but the GPS is saying an hour or something because that's how bad the snow was. Yeah.
Even when the snow's not bad, our traffic makes no sense. Like 28 kilometers, it takes you 1 hour.
Yeah.
All right, Ange, what was your win?
I'm really proud, really, really proud. So for our 365 days of the year, we did up to 1 year. We got to 1 year of the podcast. We are now a couple months in, and this is the first time. Guess what, y'all? I don't have a win. I don't have a win. Wow. I'm very, very proud because sometimes you are going to have a week where there ain't no win in your life, and it's okay. And I'll tell you why. I could have gone to the gym. I chose not to. I'm just kind of in that lazy funk. I could have gone for a walk. I don't want to do that. I could have worked out at home because I have a home gym. I didn't. I just watched a whole bunch of TV shows, and I'm actually almost finishing watching Succession, season 4. So maybe that's a win.
Yeah.
So
I've heard it's a great show.
It is.
Yeah. So really, no materialistic win, nothing. Just a good old fashioned, I did nothing this week win.
All right.
I think your win is that you did my hair.
Thanks.
I would say that's your win because you learned a new craft and you didn't know you could do it. And I think it looks great. Like no one would know it wasn't done professionally.
It wasn't done professionally. I think everyone's starting to notice these kids keep everything in-house now. Yep. Cheap asses.
Yep.
Okay, I want to ask you both here. This is a segue into today's content and episode. And please bear with us because I can tell you right now, they don't really know too much about it because I wanted to keep this fresh. We are passionate about this kind of stuff. I hope we raise awareness about this stuff. And we are not this stuff or this particular issue. We are also using our platform as a way to raise awareness. So I want to ask you guys this question here and be honest. If you saw somebody in distress, and we are a society right now that if you see someone on the side of the road that has a flat tire, we go our merry way. If someone gets into a car accident, a fender bender, you're like, sucker, I got to go to work. We're just go, go, go. But if you saw somebody in distress, would you stop and try and help them out and try and assess the situation? Or do you think you would just walk away?
I feel like you need to define what you mean by distress because I live in a city where I see a lot of homeless people. So when I'm driving after work to the grocery store, I see women on the street screaming to themselves, yelling. I was just showing mom that I'm like, she's here regularly, screaming on the streets. I can't stop for her because I don't know what she's on. Same with gentlemen. I've seen gentlemen on the streets yelling and screaming in distress. And again, if they're on some kind of medicine or whatever drugs they're on, I can't get involved in that. So when you say distress, I need more context as to what you mean by that.
Okay, let's just say you got a sense, let's say you're going somewhere in the mall and you got a sense that the situation is not good. Someone needs some help. Would you kind of sit back and kind of assess the situation? Say, when you get that heightened sixth sense sometimes, like, would you stop and say, let me kind of see if my spidey senses are picking up something, or would be like, it's not my problem. I'm just going to go on my merry way.
I think now that we're so self-aware, we had this podcast that I would probably stop to say, are you okay? Just to at least say, hey, is there anything that you need from me? Are you okay? You look like you're in distress. And if they choose to say, no, I'm fine, I'm not going to push. I won't push. I may have done that years ago to be like, you're okay. You can talk to me. But I think today I would ask that question. And if they chose to say, I'm fine, I would walk away from, I'd have to.
Al, same question for you. Someone was in distress. Let's just say anything in life, any flat tire, you know how there's right now, there's also that code with the younger generation when there was a kidnapping that was going on. Someone looked over and I think a girl lips something or basically said some code, and that's how she was rescued because someone paid attention to that. It was very subtle, but it's a code in generation means I'm in distress. I need some help. Do you think that you are walking around with blinders on, Al, or do you think now that you're kind of more self-aware of like, I have a sense of duty to protect people when I'm out and about?
I would feel like it depends on the situation, because sometimes if you're in a high volume area where people are just coming and going constantly, if you're not paying attention to it, you might have missed it. But if you're sitting in an area, you're sitting and you're watching people going by, and you start getting a sense when you've been there where you feel like someone's just staring at you, or someone's getting the vibe. And if you feel like there's a child or somebody there that's giving you a vibe, and you look at them and you'll start understanding that, hey, there's something going on here, then I would try to do whatever I can help. If that person's about to leave or get on a train somewhere, I would try to follow them and see what I need to do to get more help and call like 911. But I would definitely feel like a sense of duty that I need to help this person, whatever situation they're in. There must have been the universe was there for a reason to line me up at that situation and send me that signal. If it wasn't meant to happen, I would have ignored it and moved on.
Okay, that's a great answer. I was on the fence about this because one, sometimes we don't know what the signs are for today's episode that we're going to talk about. Sometimes it's so subtle we wouldn't pay attention because it happens so quickly. And a lot of these times, these types of situations are so discreet where we would never know. So today's issue we're actually going to talk about is an issue called, there's a campaign going on. It's called Not in My City. Basically, let's disrupt human trafficking. So when this I guess came to light for me, I was at work in the office. I was like, why do I need to know about this course? I had to take a course on it. It was the best 30 minutes that I ever took, because when I, listened to what this campaign was about, what it stood for, I told you about it, Rose. I told you, Alvin, about it. And then I thought, hey, this is such a great content for us to raise awareness on the podcast, because this is becoming a huge issue and a huge problem globally. And the fact that I want to say to you guys, what do you think is the fastest growing crime in Canada? This is our country. What do you think?
I know it's human trafficking.
It's human trafficking.
That's disturbing. You'd think it's drug trade, but the fact that humans are getting up there, the value of like drugs, that they need to traffic them. And it's disturbing to wrap your head around that we as humans are doing this to other humans, especially vulnerable humans that are in a position that they can't defend themselves.
Yeah. I want to give you guys some stats here. Okay. This is like, it's boiling my blood now. So this episode we're going to get amped about it, but I want to tell you a little bit about what Not in My City is, to provide you with some context. So Not in My City, it's a nonprofit organization that launched in July 2017. And I'm really, really proud of this in the sense that it was a Canadian musician that actually created this. And he's championing for this. His name is Paul Brandt. And he's raising awareness and he wants us to take collective action to prevent and end human trafficking and sexual exploitation. We know a lot of you that tune into our podcast, you are fathers, you have daughters, you have young children, we have nieces and nephews. So all of us have a sense of responsibility to protect them, because they are the most vulnerable. And especially in this day and age when there's so many predators out there on social media, cyberbullying, and schools, we just don't know. They could be even in your workplace that someone lures you. So to all of our listeners and our viewers, if you've got young nieces and nephews, young children, please, please, please don't walk away from today's episode. Keep listening to us, because we really want to bring awareness about this topic. And perhaps you may even witness a situation and perhaps help save someone. So let me talk about this. How many people do you think globally are trapped in modern day slavery, which is basically human trafficking? Give me a number, you two.
I'm going to say 30 million people.
Yeah, I'm probably going to say that more than that, 50 million. God.
Okay, so this is a stat that basically is in the Not in My City website. So those of you that want to know about this, it's a free campaign. Anybody can go learn about this. Not in My City. Let's disrupt human trafficking. Please go to their website and go learn. All of these stats are found there. 40 million people globally are trapped in modern day slavery. Okay, so let's talk about, get into the percentage of people that are human trafficked. I hope I'm saying that right. In Canada, Al, what percentage?
2 million or percentage? 10%.
Okay, Al's saying 10%. Rose, what do you think?
2%, because you have a very small population.
In Canada.
Yeah, a very small population.
Okay, 72% of reported human trafficking victims in Canada are under the age of 25 years old.
Jeez.
Okay, this is a problem now.
100%.
Yeah, and it's making me giving me the heebie-jeebies. I'm so upset about this. It's so disturbing that this is something that you would think would be happening in a third world country. It's not right. It's not okay. But the fact that it's happening in our house, y'all, in our house, we have to talk about it. Every single one of us have to talk about it. So we're talking about it today, and it's getting me so emotional and so upset to think that people are selling other people. Yeah. These people don't stand a chance. And the people that are at risk, let's talk about it. So the people that are at risk of being human trafficked, it's making me cry. It's young women under the age of 18 and under. So if you have daughters, if you have sisters, if you have cousins, please, please, please listen to this as we talk about this, and talk to your children, and, and just have this open dialogue. And don't be our parents' generation where they didn't really want to talk to their children about what's bothering them, because we have to have that open dialogue. There's so much of that doesn't happen in the South Asian community. We bury things under the rug. Children run away, women run away. We're not happy with our home life. But, when that person or that child or, one of your sisters is gone, everyone feels the ripple effect in the family. So for me, young women under the age of 18 are at the risk of being human trafficked. Adult women, young men, 18 and under, adult men. Another sad one, newcomers to Canada. They are vulnerable to this. Indigenous people of all ages and gender, and the LGBTQ2S community. What? So basically anyone and everyone, or anyone, could be at risk of being human trafficked in Canada.
But where are they being trafficked to, though?
Alberta is a hub, apparently.
Oh. But from where do they go?
Usually from third world countries.
It's from all over the world right now. But apparently, the reason Paul Brandt brought this issue is because he lives in Alberta, and Alberta apparently is a hub for human trafficking.
But I mean, it's a hub. So where are they going to from
We don't know. All over the world.
All over the world. I'm going to share to you how this brought to my attention. Was my work also had me do a course about 18 months ago, because I travel a lot for my work, and so I took the course, and I remember being fired and angry. And I remember coming out of the room. I think I was staying with you guys out, and I came out and I was like, why do men do bad things? And I was screaming, and it was disturbing, because what it was saying was, like, as you travel in airports, if you see signs for like call, and I started noticing that after the course in all the airports, when I was peeing in the stalls, there'd be a sign saying, if you are being trafficked or if you feel like you're unsafe, please call this number. And I started paying attention, saying, what is going on here? And then, Jim Caviezel came out with Sound of Freedom, which was a movie that they were trying to block in America.
And did it actually end up getting released?
Yeah, it was in theaters. I haven't seen it because I'm just, it's heavy. It's heavy. And that brought a lot of attention. And when I was at the Lewis Howe's very first year event, Lewis donates a lot of the money that he makes during the event to certain charities. And he had raised one of the charities. And that's when they came out and explained how bad human trafficking has gotten. The gentleman on the stage was saying that he had spoken to, I guess, a drug dealer who converted to becoming a human trafficker, and asked him, like, why did you do this? And he said, well, when I sell cocaine, like, I have to keep getting lots and lots of coke to sell to people. He's like, if I get a 10-year-old boy, I can sell him about 20 times in a day. Like, I mean, I was sitting in my seat, and I was cringing, and I wanted to cry, because it was so disturbing that that's what he thought about. His profit margins are much higher when he traffics a human versus having to go get a product. And that was the start for me to recognize and understand that there's things going on in this world that we don't want to know about or talk about, but we need to talk about. And human trafficking is on the rise, and it's extremely sad, because this is ruining little children's lives.
Yeah. And if you go right now, I just went and Googled this because I want to make sure that I'm not bringing attention to Alberta for no reason. But if you go online right now, this is CBC here. It says combating human trafficking is a top policing priority in Alberta. And so this campaign launched from there. It started there, and it's basically getting traction here. But I guess for some reason, maybe Alberta is a hub because it's discreet. They're somehow maybe able to smuggle people in that way. I don't really know the logistics of it too much. But what I do know is that, we have a platform now to raise awareness and talk about things. Yes, this is such an uncomfortable subject for us to talk about. I can tell you right now, my blood pressure is is boiling right now. But aside from all the positive stuff that we have to talk about, the world is such a dark place.
Yeah.
And this is an issue that, first of all, we're passionate about because we are passionate about so many causes, and not having people, and where people are not given a chance at life because somebody kidnapped them, somebody snatched them for human trafficking purposes. We all globally as citizens have a social moral obligation to end this and to help people in distress when we see this kind of a situation. I want to get into, Al, I want to ask you this question here, and I'm getting emotional, and like Rose, the story that
I'm getting really fired up.
You know, but we have to, and the thing is when I was studying this and I had to take the course at work, I was fired up. I'm going to tell you, it ruined my entire day.
Me too.
And I know this is a heavy episode, but it is a much needed topic that needs to be discussed. Al, how do you think we can get more people talking about human trafficking? And then, you know, how do we raise awareness? How do we help? Like, how can we use our platform to raise awareness about it?
You got to talk about it regularly, and you got to I would say you got to build a network of people that want to start bringing attention to it, because just like anything else out there, there's so many things that are happening that people need to bring attention to that it gets drowned out, that you need to start bringing it back to the forefront again to get people talking about it. There tends to be a group of podcasters, network podcasters, that if they start bringing it as a topic, like let's say once a month or once every few months on their show, and they keep cycling it, that's a good way to start getting into the metaverse and the universe, to start getting people talking about it. But until I saw this at work, I didn't know it was becoming a problem here in Canada. When I was like, while looking around, I'm like, why are these signs everywhere? And it goes like, you got to be vigilant and watch out. I'm thinking in my head, it's like, I've never really paid attention to this kind of things, because you're going down an airport and there's just people going left, right. You don't pay attention to what everybody looks stressed because they look like they're running to their flight. I never even thought to think about that. It's becoming such a problem that there's a giant campaign that the airport's willing to stand behind to say, we need to start bringing awareness to this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's really disturbing that humans are doing this to other humans, that we're treating them like literally like just a reusable piece of meat that just there's no feelings or nothing attached to it. Just use you and then chuck you. And I feel like they really prey on people that came from broken homes that are looking for something, and they get basically coaxed into it. Cause I have seen some movies where it's not always sold to them. Like they kidnap them. They've been, hey, I helped, I brought you to a place, you lived here, you stayed here, like you're rent free. Now they get to this feel like, oh, I owe this person something. I'm indebted to them. And it goes down to a slippery slope where then they get addicted to drugs. Yeah. Once you're on that, you need the high, you need the fix, depending on your drug you're on, you start doing whatever you need to. And at that point, I guess someone pretty much owns you. Well, you think about
it, if you're going to, you need to get high all the time because of what you're doing for all that level and what someone's making you do. Yeah, trauma. How do you justify that in your mind, and how do you make peace with like, I'm just constantly being used and abused by multiple people on a daily. I just don't understand. My mind would never be able to wrap my head out. I can definitely tell you, I wouldn't survive that. There's no way I would.
But the people whoever's paying for this services and paying for them, how is this like network like thriving? That it's becoming it's thriving to the point where it's becoming a problem that the rest of the world needs to now do something about because it's happening so often. Yeah, just it's a very disturbing topic. It's not like people want to talk about it, and I think that's why it gets buried, because people just have so many other problems to deal with that when another one pops up, it's so disturbing that they want to engage with it. They're like, I want to pretend like this doesn't even exist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there is a sad reality
that it does, and it's getting worse though. That it's at a point that people need to talk about it.
Yeah, and each of us have a responsibility as citizens, as good human beings, as good Samaritans, to be vigilant about this kind of stuff and help save someone. Because listen, this could be anyone in our family or any one of our nieces and nephews that go to school that could be in a vulnerable position. Because just think, they target these individuals that have low self-esteem, and Alvin, like you said, broken families. And if you think about why a lot of these, especially for members of the LGBTQ2S community and society, is they're rejected from their families. They're not accepted, and they're looking for love or, for someone to just take them in. And that's where they prey on these types of people. Yep. So as a society now, we have to protect all of us. We have to protect each other. We have to be that society that watches out for each other. I know for me, I've gone through life with blinders on sometimes. Now, as I'm getting older, there's a sense of awareness, a sense of I'm at the, we're going to talk about this one day. It's not the midlife crisis. It's called the midlife meltdown. Something happens where now it's not just about you. You want to leave the world with a legacy and say, I did some good while I was on, while my time was here on this planet. And right right now, I'm going to tell you, even when I started creating the questions for this, my soul was cringing, but it's something that we want to bring to your attention. It is a topic that I can't stress enough that needs to be spoken about. I want every podcaster, I want every other YouTuber, influencer, all of us that have a voice on a platform, especially on social media. Let's use it to disrupt human trafficking. Let's bring everybody home. You know, how many family members have lost a sibling, a relative, or somebody to human trafficking? I just think if you work in an industry like Alvin and I in aviation, if you work in, let's say, a gas station, hotels, or any of those lines of work where you think people might just be trafficked, or even at the bus depot, just start paying attention and just don't take your headphones off sometimes. Yeah. Just look around, because I can tell you right now, there's always going to be something unsettling about a situation that we could perhaps, bring an entire chain down by just saying, hey, we picked up on our sixth sense about something. Rose, when we hear about these different groups basically being targeted, how can we as society now start teaming up, and what kind of examples do you know any that we can do to let our viewers and our listeners know on what they can do to be more vigilant about this?
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely the place that you said, that website, you can go on there. I'm sure there's a place that you can even donate. If you don't have the time and the energy to look into this, you probably can donate some money. If you can volunteer at a shelter and donate your time. I think the biggest thing is, one, to start becoming aware. Like Angie said, if you are in an fortune to be actually working at a hotel or working at a gas and you see these, don't be afraid to you don't have to say something to the person there, but call the authorities, report what you see, because this is how we're going to make change, is when we start becoming aware and paying attention to the cues and the clues. And because they're not always in your face. No one's going to be walking around with some girl in handcuffs and her mouth is tied up. It's going to be very subtle, and it's something that you just have to pay attention to. So really, again, said, get off your phone. And if you're in a place, pay attention. And it's each one of us can make the difference by our time, our funds, or the speaking about it on social media as an influencer, having these conversations with your friends, family members, just start raising awareness about these things, because we have to put an end to this. This is ruining so many people's lives, and these poor kids don't even have a chance at adulthood if they're going through all of this in their childhood.
Yeah. And I think this is more so in the last 10 or 15 years. We're a culture that's just on our phones, on our digital devices. Nobody's talking. There's no human connection. And I can probably see why now human trafficking has become an issue, because guess what? It's under the radar now, because nobody's eyes and ears are open. No one's paying attention. We're all busy, WhatsApping someone. We're on our iPhones. We're having conversations when we don't even realize a person next to us could be in distress, because guess what? We're in our own little bubble. It's time to burst that bubble now and say, hey, once a day for 10, 20 minutes, or even a half an hour, get off your phones. Don't be on social media. Just be vigilant, walking around, and just like an owl, looking around for clues, saying, can I help? How can I help make the world a better place? And that is what I am trying to do now. I'm more mindful of my phone, the conversations. I work in aviation. So when I'm walking around and I'm going to go get lunch or stuff, I'm paying attention now to is there someone in distress here? Is there someone that I can help? Because like Rose, like you said, the clues are going to be very subtle, but it could be, someone bringing what looks like you would think a father, bringing their child into a hotel, but what's the reason? Let's do our due diligence. If you're a desk worker, if you're a administrative, you're working the desk in a hotel, probe a little bit and say, oh, is that your daughter? What's her name? Things like this. Start picking up on the clues of that child, their body language. There's clues all the time, but each of us just have to be aware of, what to ask. And like we said, don't go and of course, I guess what's the word? Don't go and try and raise suspicion or go up to the person and basically
protect yourself.
Pull your cover, but just call the authorities. I think there's some sort of element of human trafficking here, but we all have to band together, and especially in the hospitality and tourism industry, where we know they're going to be weaving in and coming through our home and in our businesses and in our line of work. We have to be more vigilant.
And if you can, everyone has a phone, try to record it. So at least if they're gone out of your sight or they're catching a train somewhere, you have the footage that you can pass to authorities. Like, I last saw them catching this flight heading somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would say that movie, we're going to watch it ourselves. It's been on our list. It's by Jim Caviezel called Sound of Freedom. I think it's really important so you really understand, because he's got, everybody's been talking about it in the podcast circuit about this movie. So I would really highly advise you to watch that movie, just so if you don't have any understanding, if you've never even heard of this term, or this is a really foreign concept, you can educate yourself by watching that film.
Mm-hmm. We as a team are dedicated to bringing this awareness up again in a couple of months. We will bring this topic. We will be reaching out to the Not in My City group. I'm hoping that we can get a representative on board. I'm hoping that even some of the survivors, if they want, they're more than welcome to come on our platform to educate us, to raise awareness with us, and so we can help pass on what we learn and the learnings to you, to empower you to be an amazing citizen, and to perhaps pick up on clues on how we can disrupt human trafficking. I'm getting really upset and emotional about this, so I think we're just going to call it a day. But we hope that we were able to shed some light and use our platform to raise awareness on this. Like I said, I'm going to go back here. 40 million people globally are trapped in modern day slavery. Human trafficking is one of the fastest growing crimes in Canada. 72% of reported human trafficking victims in Canada are under the age of 25 years. If that ain't gonna give you the heebie-jeebies, I don't know what is. So with that said, let's be a society that's a change-making society. Until then, that is our time on A Tribe Called Dhillon podcast. Sorry, we did not mean to make this episode somber and sad, but you know what? This is the harsh, sad reality of life. And some of us live in our cozy cookie cutter homes, and I'm guilty. We buy things, we go out for great meals and great things, and we forget what's happening outside and around us. So I promised myself to be more vigilant this year and to raise awareness on campaigns that we all, I feel, need to talk about. So until next week, friends and family, take care of your loved ones, stay vigilant, talk to your children about this. If you have young children, if you have daughters, if you have friends of any of this group that I said, and especially for the newcomers that are coming to Canada, if you're watching our podcast, please educate them about this issue and pay attention. Let's all be a vigilant society. It is A Tribe Called Dhillon podcast. Signing off until next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
See ya.